ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Namaste my dear friends. In this video I am going to explain the two paths of knowledge and bhakti, devotion. It is certain that a path is necessary. Then what path we should adopt? It is held in India that there are three types of path: jñāna mārga, bhakti mārga and karma mārga. The path of knowledge, devotion and action. Not completely conforming to any of these, there are also the technically intricate types of path of yoga and tantra. So these last are difficult to follow in the conditions of our time. They are not considered here but are left to be dealt with later. Karma mārga, the path of action, is also left for later treatment. For the moment, let us consider the two great paths of knowledge and devotion, being and worship. The one aim at identity and the other at the union of two, to one or the other of which an aspirant is apt to be drawn by his own temperament. They are not in fact mutually exclusive, although they may seem to be so in theory. The four mārgas, karma, bhakti, yoga and jnana are not exclusive of one another. Each is, however, described separately in classical works only to convey an idea of the appropriate aspect of God to appeal readily to the aspirant according to his predisposition. Nevertheless, aspirants do in the main follow either the path of knowledge or that of devotion, often with a certain admixture of the other and of the path of action. Starting with the path of knowledge, knowledge in this sense does not imply learning, theory or philosophy, but intuitive understanding. Indeed, it is the indirect paths that require elaborate theory. Only the bare minimum of theory is needed for the path of knowledge. Simply that being is and you are that. Therefore, to know the essential self of you is to know all, but not by gazing at as one can know another, but for not to the ultimate knowledge in that high sense is simple being. Being alone is true. This was the path that Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi taught, although as will appear later he allowed for bhakti mārga also. The method for which it is to be followed is self-inquiry, the constant probing into the reality of one's self. Self-inquiry leads directly to self-realization by removing the obstacles which make you think that the self is not already realized. It is not the same as meditation, although sometimes loosely so called. Meditation requires an object to meditate on, whereas in self-inquiry there is only the subject and no object. That is the difference between them. Concentration is not thinking of one thing. On the contrary, it is excluding all thoughts, since all thoughts obstruct the sense of one's true being. The effort must be made to suspend thought while retaining consciousness. Usually, when thought ceases, one goes to sleep. What one must do is to remain awake and conscious and concentrate on the pure sense of being of I am. That remains when thought subsides. It is not easy at first, but with effort and practice it can be done. Who am I? Any answer the mind can give must be wrong, Bhagavan said. In fact, the very attempt to give a verbal answer shows that the question has been wrongly considered a philosophical conundrum when in fact it is a spiritual exercise. The answer begins to come as a current of awareness, body sensed, mind known, and yet from both apart. It is no use thinking that the mind is going to absorb or possess the new knowledge. On the contrary, it must let go and consent to be absorbed by it. I sought to devour thee. Come now and devour me, then there will be peace, Arunachala. The devotee or bhakta, on the other hand, does not go so far as to conceive of the non-existence of the ego. Therefore, he can also not conceive of the non-existence of the world outside the ego or the God above it. The three go together. If one of them exists, all three do. All religions postulate the three fundamentals, the world, the soul, and God. But it is only the one reality that manifests itself as these three. One can say the three are really three only so long as the ego lasts. Therefore, the bhakta, instead of recognizing that which is as the very self of him, the sole survivor after the dissolution of the illusory ego or individual being, regards it as the creator and sustainer of the individual being, the God to whom the individual submits, the lover whom he seeks, the home to which he returns. The two paths. Don't ask if I believe in God, not that the query, but whether I believe in me in life and theory. If I am, then the world is, and above a God that made me, God whose living love still draws me back to him until I yearn for that last ineluctable return to oneness with him, otherness burnt out in fires of love, and find out thus I am not, as though in dream, though through distant lands to roam. Then wake where down you say lay that too away, and therefore good, for every way leads home. Though roundabout for those who go direct, there is an austere high mountain path to be a heaven to yourself, a lamp to yourself, knowing there is no separate you to pray to be united with a separate God outside of you, knowing that there just is. Let scholars argue this or that is right and follow neither. Whichever way you choose for you is right. Bhakti mārga is in general the path trodden by Christian and Muslim seekers, and indeed the very word Islam means submission. The path of knowledge, on the other hand, is in keeping with the original genius of Buddhism and Taoism, although both found themselves obliged later to provide devotional paths for the many who could not aspire so high. Both paths exist side by side in Hinduism. Indeed, some of the greatest saints have been bhaktas. Sri Ramakrishna said, I do not want to become the honey but to remain separate so as to taste the honey. The great Marathi poet Saint Tukaram spoke sometimes from the viewpoint of identity but was primarily a bhakta. He wrote, I do not seek God consciousness, Brahma-jnana. I shall always desire dual consciousness. Thou shalt ever remain my Lord and I thy devotee. In Hinduism, Buddhism and Islam, although not in Christianity, the most widely used bhakti technique is invocation of the name of God. The simplest method is chanting the name and freeing the mind from restlessness, and Swami Ramdas, a great modern bhakta, said Swami Ramdas, a great modern bhakta. The Maharshi also offered his devotees the path of devotion as an alternative to self-inquiry. He always prescribed self-inquiry in the first place, but if devotees complained that they found this too difficult, he would often add, there are two ways, ask yourself, who am I, or submit. And indeed many of his devotees did and still do follow him by the path of love, surrender, devotion. Even in this case, however, he did not give an invocation but only prescribed, as did Sai Baba also, complete surrender to the Guru. He has been known to make the tremendous statement, submit to me and I will strike down the mind, or only be still and I will do the rest. It is not an easy thing to keep the mind still without thoughts or to submit as Bhagavan understood submission. When one does, the barrier to truth is weakened and God self, Bhagavan, does indeed break through and strike down the imposter ego. But what an assurance to receive, and what power in him who can give it. The surrender has to be complete, not only surrender of all the ego's desires, but of the ego that has the desires, until in the end it turns out to be an illusory thing and bhakti becomes jnāna. Whichever path one follows, the thing is to follow it, not to argue about it. A Christian priest once told Bhagavan that he considered the goal of mystic union envisaged by Christians to be different from the Hindu goal of moksha and superior to it, and Bhagavan replied, all right, attain that first and then see whether you still find any difference or anything to criticize. That was always his reply, to turn the critic from theory to practice. Argument did not interest him, only understanding and sincere effort. So these are the two paths. The destination is same, that is the knowing the self, knowing the Brahma. That can be achieved either through bhakti mārga or jñāna mārga. So, in actual sense, there is no difference between the two paths. Both lead to the same destination, that is the realization of Atma or realization of God. So there is no difference, just difference in name, nothing else. In reality, both bhakti mārga and jñāna mārga lead to the same destination, that is self-realization and God realization. So thank you, my dear friends, for watching this video with the patience. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar.